This is a reaction video to the breaking news that Mike Williamson has moved within two League Two clubs. You don't see this happen very often. From MK Dons to Carlisle United, Mike Williamson moves up north. George, your initial, instant, unfettered reaction, please.
I mean, obviously, it's a surprising move from a footballing perspective, where MK Dons, a side who we know have just gone through a takeover, through a Q80, who seemingly got a lot of money, coming into an already very ambitious League Two club. Moving to a Carlisle side who come down from League One, who haven't necessarily been big hitters recently, but also under the Piatek family, have new owners that are also seemingly very ambitious and well-to-do. With Mike Williamson, clearly he's someone who played, who's from the north, who played for Newcastle for much of his career, who managed at Gateshead. I assume there is a fair geographical reason for this move. It feels fairly unlikely if not. Also, given his start at MK Dons, maybe he feels like now is a good time to cash in. I mean, from a Carlisle perspective, I think it's a really exciting appointment, and I would be pretty happy to basically ignore this season and ignore the poor performances thus far if things have been going, especially if he hasn't been particularly happy there. The one thing I would say is that his style of football feels to me like it's much more easy to implement maybe at Stadium MK than at Carlisle, where it's a bit of a smaller pitch or worse pitch. I mean, I guess even Gateshead is a pretty nice place to play. And it's going to be quite a big shift in terms of playing style from what we saw from Paul Simpson. Having said that, he came in last season at MK Dons side mid-season and very quickly changed the style of playing, got massive results from it as well. So if I was a Carlisle fan, I'd be very excited. If I was an MK Dons fan, I'd be probably a bit happier than I would have been had it happened a month ago. But even so, not ideal to lose a manager that I think quite a lot of time and money have been invested in over the last year or so.
Yeah, my head's kind of spun on this because I think that Mike Williamson's a really good manager. I think there's some really impressive aspects to what he was able to do, certainly at Gateshead, where he did an incredible job and played some incredible football for National League level and brought out a level of performance in a number of players, particularly central midfielders and attacking players, that very few managers at that level are able to do, and that was not on a big budget. At MK Dons, his initial results were sensational. You know, the impact that he had on that team after coming in was brilliant, and it was completely wiped out by one of the most embarrassing playoff performances and displays of all time. A huge defeat to Crawley that owed a lot to Crawley's quality and their composure and their ability to execute in the final third and capitalise on MK's weaknesses, but also reflected really poorly on MK. And it was not the first time in the last few months of the season where, lest we forget, they had a chance to get top three. They played a big game against Mansfield. They started well, and as soon as they came up against it, they collapsed, and Mansfield beat them comfortably. They came up against Stockport, and they started really well, and then they had a goalkeeper mistake. They went 1-0 down. I think, was it 5-0, live on Sky? Quite unusual personality for a team that had so much quality to just fold like that in big games. And that's the sort of thing that it can be hard to attribute blame to. Is there an issue with the players' personalities, or is it something that the manager ultimately has to kind of oversee and be on top of? That's the sort of thing that Carlisle fans should be watching closely for, the personality of the team when they come into tough moments. But I definitely think they're going to see a very different style of football. It's interesting where the squad doesn't scream Mike Williamson football to me on paper. In particular, the MK Dons team has been built to play out from the back, to play through the thirds. Goalkeepers that are going to complete a lot of passes, and some of them are going to be quite like precise passes, and it'll be a bit scary at times. I think there could be some real teething issues at Carlisle if he goes like balls to the wall with that straight away. But just in terms of basic shape, he likes to play a back three, and I think Carlisle have the players to do that. He likes to play wing-backs that get really far forward, and I think with Harper and Davies, we can see that, even if we haven't yet so far this season. Tons of central midfield options for him to work with, the likes of Robson and Biggins, Neil and McGeoch, etc. And then, well, you've got number 9s in Kelly, Armstrong, Wyke. You've got kind of wide forwards in Jones and Sadie. Interesting squad for him to work with. It feels neat in a weird way because things clearly aren't good at MK Dons, the new era that you've mentioned. I think this could work well. for all parties.
I'm really interested to see where MK Dons go now, because I think this will be under the new ownership, this appointment will be the first indication of what they are now, basically. And I wouldn't be massively surprised if they try and poach the architect of that embarrassing playoff defeat last season from League One.
Really?
Style of play would work. Already got Liam Kelly out of Crawley. Scott Lindsay's someone who, he's managing in League One now, but we know the ambition of MK Dons. I'm not saying he would go there, but it wouldn't be a massive surprise if he's on the list in my mind.
And it's worth pointing out that MK played Carlisle off the park at Stadium MK just a few weeks ago, their best performance of the season so far. Clearly, the Piatek family were watching that and admiring that. This is going to be a great storyline now from here until the end of the League Two season. Basically, whatever happens, it could reflect really well on Carlisle. If they then do better than MK Dons, MK might end up with the better part of it as well. Going to be fascinating to watch that game on the 11th of January. This is the sort of story that we love on Not the Top 20, both on the YouTube channel and on our weekly podcast as well. So subscribe to this channel for more EFL chat like this and reaction as well. Cheers.